Good morning, YouTube. Should I say good morning again? This is LA Prepper here. Just finished making a long video on how I feel about Take a Knee, people. We're going to keep going on our video, Wednesday morning video. I was going to say video rampage. That's a little bit of a strong word. Marathon. How about video marathon? That's a better word. So I'm going to talk about something. I'm going to talk about white privilege. White privilege, the idea that because, I guess white privilege is how do you define white privilege? How do you, officially, I know what it means, but how do you officially define it? Let's go to Wikipedia. Oh, Wikipedia wants my money. I want to read about white privilege, Wikipedia. Okay, so Wikipedia is saying it is a term for societal privileges that benefit people identified as white in Western countries beyond what is commonly experienced by non-white people under the same social, political, or economic circumstances. Okay. So, first, let me be honest about whether or not I think white privilege exists. In part, yes. I'm going to say yes, it absolutely does. Now, how much it exists, how prevalent it is it the majority of the minority? If you took 100 white people in a room, how many of them, or what? So these societal privileges. So first of all, does it exist? Yes. How prevalent is it? I have no idea. There's no point in me even trying to quantify it. Difficult thing to quantify. So, yes, it exists in some amount. Let me give you some personal anecdotes. How much white privilege have I experienced in life? Well, first of all, I've never had anything happen to me that was amazing that I could 100% or even partially or even had an inkling or a suspicion happen to me because I was white. Now, not to say I haven't been the benefit of white privilege. Who knows? Maybe some guy or some gal was nice to me because I was white, or gave me a discount because I was white, or hired me because I was white. And I'll talk about hiring in a little bit. I couldn't tell you. No one's ever, I've certainly never had an employer. I've known people that were racist, but I've never had an employer just come out and say, so glad to have found a white guy to hire. Or I'm so glad you speak English as a first language. Or I was really looking for a Western American candidate to fit the social, the culture in our office is very Western white American. No, I've never experienced that. So if white people are being racist for my advantage, they're not fucking telling me about it. And you would think if it was such a thing of, white people getting ahead because they're white, that there would be a discussion about it. I don't know how that works. So have I had white privilege in my life? Probably, I guess. If you make the assumptions that one, it does exist, and two, since I'm white and I've been around for a few years, then statistics would tell you at some point in my life I have benefited from it, completely unbeknownst to me. Honest to God, I've never had anything good happen because someone said, "Oh, I'm doing this because you're white." Never happened. So that's my own personal experience about white privilege. On that note, I will tell you about some things that did benefit me growing up. I'll talk about my parents. Parents are both white, if that's how we categorize people, and I don't believe that's how we categorize people, but they are both white. My mom is uh, U.S. born, European descent. I could go into the countries, but I'm white, so what do you care? So, my father is also white. He was born in another country. Um, and now you're thinking, oh shit, white guy not born in America. Okay, so where was white guy not born in America born? Was he born in Europe? Maybe in Britain? Maybe Russia? Are Russian people white? Maybe Argentina. There was a lot of like Germans and other people that settled in, and even Spanish that settled in Argentina. Are Spanish people white? Like people from Spain? What if they're really light skinned? What if I'm more tan than the whitest person in Spain right now? What does that mean? You know, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you where my dad's from. You'd never guess. It's a country so obscure that unless you were eating a fruit known from that country, and there's not very many, or you were talking about an animal specific to that country, because it's one of those countries that has a couple funny animals. But and that's enough of a clue in and of itself. But uh, my father, who has been the main income earner all my life in our family, my mother has worked a very large amount, but my dad always made just a little healthier money. He had a little more complicated job. Well, technically more complicated. My mom was a teacher. My dad's an engineer. Kids are complicated as well, but I guess we don't pay teachers nearly as well as engineers because we figure, whatever we figure. But so, did my parents experience white privilege? Can't necessarily imagine so. It's possible, but my parents are very ordinary, dare I say, boring people. They're certainly not racist at all. So, I is it possible they had a white boss that hired them because they were white? I suppose. Um, but more appropriately, and not to brag too much, but my dad's a really good fucking engineer. Like he's really smart. He's he is more. I'm in graduate school right now. He is technically more capable than I am, being out of school for 30 years. I'm talking about like on paper. I'm not talking about being an engineer. Like, of course, he's been doing it for 30 years. But as far as I'm almost positive, if I went head to head with my dad on like the biggest engineering final you could ever think of, I think he would score better than me. And I'm in fucking school right now. Like that's how legit of an engineer he is. So he's had the privilege of an education that was not American when he was younger. And he came from a country that was a little smaller so that they had the ability to kind of have pretty solid European influenced, you know, education has gotten worse over the years. I don't know if you realize this, but we expect a lot less from our college students now than we did even within a year or so ago. I've been a college student for the last 10 years on and off, kind of like the last 4.5 years recently. Um, and if you're wondering how you can be in school for 4 years working in a master's, change your degree. Go from business to engineering and then try to get a bachelor's and then realize you can't get a bachelor's and go for a master's. Add in a few community colleges, a few dropped classes, quarter system, semester system, blah, blah, blah. There you go. So, has my father or mother experienced white privilege? Possibly, but mostly my dad works his ass off to this day. Doesn't complain. Well, I would say he doesn't complain at work, but he's just a good employee. He works very hard and he's been a manager for a while. Managers get paid well. Not everyone even wants to be a manager. I know he told me about one promotion that he got where he was like, I was a shoo-in. He's like, there was somebody else in my department that was more qualified, but they just didn't want the job. So he said it was like me and some other candidate who wasn't really as experienced as him. So he was basically a shoo-in for the job. So he had the privilege of being the type of person that wants to be a manager, that's willing to take their career to the next level, and that is competent to do it. Um, you know, and he didn't learn that from his father. I'll tell you that right now. It almost makes me sad enough to cry talking about my grandfather, but he wasn't really a great person. He was kind of, I know a lot of you might be religious, so I'm not going to say why exactly he wasn't really a great father, but he was distracted. He was a little distracted as a my father's father. So everything my father did was essentially, and everything he does is just him being a boss, in my opinion. He's just, my dad's a fucking gangster. He doesn't commit crimes or pack guns or anything, but when it comes to making shit happen, my dad is a fucking gangster. I I would never I would never hope to be, or like never try to claim to be more competent than he is, like as a human being. He's just ridiculously competent human being. So I don't think my parents got too much white privilege. They mostly just worked their asses off. My mom worked as a teacher for many years. My dad still works as an engineer. What what did they give me? What what privilege? How did they raise me? They raised me just like the Viking prepper man was raised, to work hard, to have discipline, to have strong character, to try to take care of my family, take care of our home. Um, they weren't very religious, largely because of how my father, how my grandfather was a bit distracted by the church, but not necessarily super spiritual either. I mean, they did. I would say taking me out in nature and helping give me a little bit of exposure to just diversity of the world. And I haven't been all around the world. I've never been to Europe. Something that I'm almost more ashamed of that than anything else in my life, that I've never been to Europe. I've never been to South America. I've had money through the years. I could have jumped on a plane and gone down there, but I've never had enough money that I felt like spending $1,000 to go to another country just for the hell of it wasn't good enough reason. So, got to finish this goddamn degree so I can fly to Europe, hang out with my friends in Paris. But back to white privilege. Talk about me, a little. I've been hired by. I want to talk about this whole white privilege hiring thing, right? Let's take this white privilege and go to a different race. Okay, I'm not talking about black privilege. Let's hypothetically talk about Asian privilege. Okay, or yellow. Let's call it yellow privilege. If all white people, if all European people that look anything like me are quote unquote white, then let's take this color farce to the full level. All brown people are black people, except that they're not. A Samoan versus like an African person are like two completely different types of people. Yes, they are different. No, they don't really have different DNA. Yes, they look different. They have different cultures predominantly, as far as like what are the big differences. But I'm getting off track. All yellow people are not the same. And God, I feel so fucking racist saying that. But let's take this white privilege and compare it to yellow privilege. If you're Asian, or if you know Asian individuals from any variety of countries that we would consider Asian, Southeast Asian even, you know that just because someone is Asian doesn't mean they get along with their Asian friend. They're different countries and they have a vastly, it's like saying just because someone is Latin American or brown, that they're going to get along with their brown friends. A Nicaraguan and a Guatemalan aren't automatically on the same page, or a Colombian and a Venezuelan, or a Peruvian and a Chilean. I'm going to run out of countries if I keep this game up. But to say that all white people are all going to help each other, give each other privilege, or even a percentage of them because they're white, I feel like that's as ridiculous as saying all brown people are going to help each other because they're brown, or all Asians are going to help each other because they're Asian, or all black people are going to help each other because they're black. Color doesn't equal culture. Color doesn't equal race. Color doesn't equal upbringing or background or character values or anything. It's just what the skin looks like. And it's a result of mostly just DNA, melanin. You get more sun, you have more melanin. You have darker skin. You get less sun, you're lighter, you have lighter skin. That's why people in Africa have very dark skin, and people in Finland and Norway have very light skin. We know why people have different amounts of melanin in their skin. Um, and because people lived in different areas, if a bunch of people reproduce in Africa versus a bunch of people reproduce in Norway, if they're only reproducing with people in their general area, they're over time, they're still going to look different. Why would you expect someone in like Venezuela to look exactly like someone from Mongolia? Generation after generation after generation. We're all human beings, but there's nothing wrong with understanding that, you know, among someone of very pure Mongolian blood will always look different than someone of quote unquote, Venezuelan blood, or someone, that evolved from Homo whatever, Homo erectus, Homo sapien sapien, Homo pithecus, and all this stuff hundreds of thousands of years ago. So, because cultures are so vastly different, you know, just because someone's white doesn't mean that they're gonna help me out because I'm white. Now, if we get to know each other and we have the same values culturally, or we have similar character traits, um, then it's a possibility that we're going to try to help each other. But that's because we're both the same type of people. Um, for example, I love motorcycles. I believe in motorcycle privilege. I will help you just because you own a motorcycle. Is that vehicleist? Yeah, I'm a little bit against cagers. And if you don't know what a cager is, feel free to Google it. But if you ride a motorcycle, you obviously know what that word is. But I believe in motorcycle privilege. I will help you out and I will like you a little more than other people just because you ride a motorcycle. I would even hire you before someone else just because you rode a motorcycle. Is it wrong? Yeah. But I love motorcycles. Motorcycles are awesome. And I think people that ride motorcycles generally pretty awesome people. I have firearm privilege. If you believe in the Second Amendment and you're a legal, lawful owner of a firearm, I love you. I mean, you're an American. Um, you're supporting what we have used, what this country was founded on, standing against tyranny, and what people in this country use to defend our freedom, which is firearms. Since I don't have enough money saved up for a big drone or a tank or a jet, I'm gonna have to settle for a Marlin 795, which compared to an F-35, it's a bit pathetic. But I don't need to shoot down MiGs, so I don't need an F-35. What other privileges do I have? I'm gonna list all my privileges. All right, we got motorcycle privilege, firearms, Second Amendment privilege. Let's add Boy Scout privilege onto that. I am a Boy Scout. I know I'm a dork, but if you were a Boy Scout, especially if you were an Eagle Scout, if you made it all the way through that tumultuous existence that is Scouts, herding cats as I like to call it, refer to it as, I'm going to help you get one up. Absolutely. Because I know what type of person you are. Military service privilege. I've never served in the military. I have a lot of family in the military. I have a little experience. I can't say being in ROTC for a year is military experience. Officially, it is, but and I wasn't commissioned. I was just a volunteer. I was uncommissioned ROTC cadet. But between my family and between the ROTC and between just being an American, I have somewhat of an idea of what the military is, what it stands for, and the type of people that it molds. The military will mold you if you go into the military, which is not a bad thing. That is part of the idea. I believe in military privilege. If you served in the military, as long as you weren't dishonorably discharged, and maybe even if you were, but it's a you're not an awful person or you've become a better person, I'm going to try to help you out in life. Absolutely, more than someone who hasn't served, because I respect you for that. All right. If you are a patriotic American, I believe in patriotic privilege. If you love your country, even if you don't agree with me, but if you think that we have a pretty awesome country and you're working to make it an even better country, or even if you're just working to keep it as good of a country as it is right now, I'm going to help you more than someone who's not patriotic. If you stand during the national anthem, I will help you in life more than if you kneel. Does that make me an asshole because I hate non patriots? I don't hate non patriots. But I will give privilege to those who are patriotic. All right. In fact, this is turning into like a top 10 privilege video, but that's all right. How many minutes are we? 21 minutes. Oh, I get an F for making short videos, but we got to talk about this stuff, people. We got to talk about this stuff, you know. And I think white people, to some extent, are nervous or reticent to talk about white privilege because maybe they think no matter what they say, people won't believe them because they're white. They'll call them racist. Maybe they'll get in trouble, or I don't know. But as someone who hasn't experienced a lot of racism in general in life towards other races or towards myself for being white, um, the amount of energy that people spend on racism just it confounds me sometimes. It really does. You know, I can't. I have a classmate who's African American who I talk to about stuff and about problems. I have Caucasian classmates. I have a group member who is Hispanic, Mexican, I think. I don't know, to be honest. Because it's not generally considered PC to bug people about that. Like, oh, you look Latin American. What country are you from? You know, uh, it's it's just something that it doesn't really. It's not typically very relevant. Um, you know, I mean, I guess if Cinco de Mayo is coming around, which is the Mexican Independence Day, and you asked your Hispanic group mate, so does this upcoming holiday have any special significance towards you? I guess that's an appropriate question. Maybe if you're Guatemalan, you don't care about Mexican independence. I don't know why you would necessarily. So, but I'm getting off track. Patriotic privilege. What other kind of privileges do I have? Say outdoorsman privilege. If you have spent time in the outdoors, if you can make a fire, if you can set a snare, if you're a hunter, if you know how to camp, hike, backpack, navigate, if you're a mountain man, I'll give you privilege. I respect mountain men a lot. Um, they have skills that our pioneer Americans had, and that I promise you, in the future, if not the nearer future, who knows when future, but some future, they will be very respected men in society. So if you're a mountain man, I will give you privilege over the average man. I know I can list a few more here. Uh, God, I don't want to say Californian privilege. Californians aren't the best people, but maybe something like, I can't even say that. If you're a good person, character privilege. I'm going to give you character privilege. If you are of good character, I'm going to try to help you more than someone who's a shitty person. Is it wrong? I don't think so. If you want to be a shitty person, go be a shitty person on your own time. I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not going to try to fix you. I'm not, I'll help you if you need help and I'm right there and it's not a big deal, but I'm going to give the privilege of my time and my energy and my effort towards those of good character. I think you can call that character privilege. Um Number 8, fearless people. Kind of goes back to character, but if you're trying and you're going above and beyond in life, and you even if you're failing, God, I respect that. I'm going to give you privilege over other people who are not fearless, who are sitting in their boring, shitty lives doing the same shitty things every day. That's cool. You can live your average, boring life. Um, I'm not giving you privilege. If you know my average, boring associates, colleagues, friends, classmates call me up, text me, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm busy, dude. I'm busy doing shit. I'm busy trying to live life. Don't even have time for your text. Don't even have time to return your call. Because if you're not doing anything, I'm not giving you privilege of my time. My time is very valuable. All right, let's get 2 more so I can end this video because I've been talking for half an hour. And I love it. I love sharing how I feel about stuff with the YouTube guys. Please like, comment, subscribe on if I'm crazy, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, that's all right. Um, but take action no matter how you feel about life. Uh, I'm going to say to a certain extent public servants, and I'm not really talking about politicians, but like law enforcement officers, emergency responders, military kind of ties into that, like National Guardsmen and such, search and rescue. But if you are putting yourselves in harm way, or you are doing service to the community, um, you know, trying to uphold the Constitution, keep fellow Americans safe, I'm going to give you privilege. A practical nurse, great example. Um, Fantastic American, works in the health industry, um, has gone down to hurricane afflicted Texas a few times to go help out. Kind of, a little sensible for him because he's kind of in the area. And, makes a ton of videos about how to help people and first aid and prepping and stuff like that. If 2 people ask me for help, one of them is, a nurse and one of them is a regular person, I'm going to give privilege to the nurse because I know if the more I help someone who's serving the community, the more they can serve the community. Um, and that's like leveraging your efforts. Helping people that are movers and shakers do more in life has a bigger impact than spending a whole weekend helping your loser friend move because he doesn't want to move by himself. So, number 10 types of people I give privilege to. Oh, that's tough. Who do I give privilege to? A little bit challenging. The character thing is really big for me. Um, let's just leave it at 9 then. I'm just going to leave it at 9 because, I don't. The point I was trying to make with this, 9 different types of groups that I give privilege to is that we all give privilege to certain groups that we think are of higher value. But I don't give privilege to other white people because I don't think being white makes you of higher value than someone else. I'm a stronger believer in character, in acts, what you do with your time and your energy. So have I experienced white privilege in my life? I have no idea. Have I seen it in public? Not really. Does it exist? Probably. Do I give privilege to other groups that I like? Yeah. People that have experiences like I do, or that I know are benefiting the community, or I know are doing things in their life, I will give you privilege. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.